great brands are made of great products. You can ask a consumer to start their journey with the brand once, but it's only with a wow product can you make them come back again to you.
You have worked across both Indian and Middle Eastern markets. In your view, what are the biggest difference in taste preferences or consumption habits between these two regions?
I have huge respect for entrepreneurs and individuals who want to bring new products and brands and new tastes into the market.
What is the difference between no calorie or no sugar drink?
I really like speaking with you, Mohsinaa. I think you really bring out the best in the person you're interviewing. I really appreciate you for that, and I hope that you will continue this in the future.
For smaller or upcoming beverage brands that may not have larger budgets, what's one practical way they can start innovating and creating real impact in today's market? Hi everyone, I'm Mohsinaa Ahmad. Welcome to Boss Talks, where transformative conversations meet actionable insights. In each episode, we have conversations on the intersection of modern leadership, exploring how spirituality shapes decision-making, how sustainability drives innovation, how technology transforms business, and how emotional intelligence powers lasting success. Today's guest is Avinash Ratta, a powerhouse business leader and the CEO and MD of Grainvelocity, a high-impact growth and business acceleration firm in the MENA region. Avinash brings decades of experience from the world's top FMCG and F&B giants, including Unilever, Nestlé, IFFCO Group, Agthia, and Aujan, Coca-Cola. With leadership roles across the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, he's successfully led multi-million-dollar brands across categories like beverages, dairy, personal care, culinary, and more. And in INSEAD MBA, a Princeton graduate and a silver medalist from the IIT Bombay, Avinash combines global strategy with grassroots execution. He's not only steered category leadership, market expansion, and brand transformations, but done it with a sharp focus on sustainable, profitable growth. We will explore the mindset, leadership journey, and growth strategies of a true industry leader. Hi Avinash, welcome to my show, Boss Talks. How are you doing today?
Hi and good morning, Mohsinaa. Thank you very much for having me on your show, and it's a pleasure to be here today. I look forward to speaking with you.
So Avinash, please tell me, how did this all begin? Like, when did you know that you have the knack for building brands and, identifying how to brand the products in a way which sells?
Actually, to tell you the truth, Mohsinaa, the heart of what I do with Grainvelocity and what we have achieved here in the region is founded on the love of products. It's really important for you to know that throughout my decade of experience with companies like Nestlé and Unilever in multiple geographies, the one thing that really has stuck by me is the fact that great brands are made of great products. That's a principle that I've always abided by. And I'm a firm believer in the power of product. And I'll tell you why. Because you can ask a consumer to buy a brand or, start their journey with the brand once, but it's only with a wow product can you make them come back again to you and buy you again and again. And that's a principle that's fundamental. That's something that Nestle believes in a lot, and I have kind of taken it forward from here. So none of all my launches of either new products in the region have been based on the fact that at least a significant fraction of the market, of the consumer, needs to prefer my product before it is actually launched into the market. And it's a very interesting tenet, because I always advise my teams, if that doesn't happen, do not go ahead and launch in the market. So great brands are made of great products. Of course, there are other functions like marketing and sales that actually deliver it to the market, but the core is what I strongly believe in.
Any one product, if we may know, which you have stopped and it turned out really well, that it's okay. It was a great decision that you have taken.
As Grainvelocity, I had the real privilege of working with a large beverages company here called Aujan Beverages. You probably know them because they have some incredible brands, Vimto, Rani, and Barbican. So these are the three brands that I work with. Now, there was one product I distinctly remember, and it's now in the market. It's called Vimto Zero. It's a cordial for those people who cannot regularly have sugar.
Right.
And you know that Vimto is a Ramadan ritual, and there are so many people who want to drink it with their friends and family. There was a time where we were working with some very incredible sweeteners that could be added, natural sweeteners that could be added to Vimto without the sugar, but still give the taste. Right. And that would be something that the consumers would love. So you will not believe it, but we went through almost 8 months of me saying, no, this version of the development will not be launched in the market until it happened. And that's another story, because we developed a whole new molecule that can achieve that. So this was done with some incredible partners. And it's just an example of how important it is to stand by this before it launches in the market. By the way, it's a big part of the Vimto portfolio now, and you will see it in the market. So.
You have worked across both Indian and Middle Eastern markets. And in your view, what are the biggest difference in taste preferences or consumption habits between these two regions?
There are several similarities between the taste preferences in India and the Middle East. Now, I'll give you one simple example. This is not from manufacturing, but from the out-of-home business. You will find many Indian restaurants doing very well with the Middle Eastern consumer here. At the same time, you'll find many Middle Eastern restaurants where there are a lot of Indians consuming food. So this is one very interesting example, is because there are significant commonalities in the taste preferences here. However, when you zoom down into the Middle East as a market, in the course of my work with categories like juices and beverages and in foods, one is the fact that we can cluster our markets. Like, for example, if we take Saudi and Iraq and Egypt, for instance, you could kind of cluster them into a set of markets that prefer a more sweet and a more flavorful product category, product type, compared with markets like the UAE or Jordan or Lebanon, where it is more of the European bent when it comes to the taste preferences. You can see where I'm coming. So here are where the differences lie. And the biggest difference I see is in out of home, because in markets, specifically the UAE, you will find a lot of international cuisines and international brands present in when you are going to eat out, when a family goes to eat out. Unlike in India, where there's a lot of presence of Indian cuisine, where that's the preferred cuisine. The only difference I could say in consumption habits is that there is more Italian and French and Chinese, these kind of cuisines available in the market. But nutshell is, in fact, what I wanted to share with you, there are brands that I have launched in the Middle East that have been preferred in India, and there are products that are preferred in India that have launched in the Middle East. For example, a very interesting instance was the launch of a flavored fruit drink, a sparkling fruit drink which had Himalayan salt in it, which is a typical extension of our Kala Khatta in India. So that's the interesting, the commonalities I can see. So I see more commonalities than differences.
You have seen the beverage market, and what is the difference between no calorie or no sugar drink? Because when we say no calorie, it is not possible that there is no calorie, I think, except water probably. So what is the difference between these two drinks?
It's a good question, and there is a lot of uncertainty around it because of the way it is communicated. But let me clarify it for you. There are 3 levels that we should always look at when we are buying our products. There's a claim that's in the market which is called no added sugar. No added sugar doesn't mean no sugar. It means that there has been no addition of artificial sugar. There is always the component of sugar that comes from the natural products. Let it be, for example, a fruit juice or whatever it is, the core fruit. So that is no added sugar means there is natural sugar present. Then there is zero sugar. Zero sugar means actually when you do a Brix test, you will find that there's minimal or negligible actual sugar content in the product. That's called no sugar. There are very few brands. In fact, I don't think there's anyone who can claim no sugar. If water is added with, example, a flavor and a natural sweetener or an artificial sweetener, that can also have a no sugar claim on it, right? But it's very hard to get. And then there's this third level, which you are alluding to, is called no calorie. Beverages by definition need to have calories in it. It is very hard not to have calories. But there are products, for example, you will find carbonated soft drinks that claim no calorie. Of course, water is no calorie. That indeed means that when you look at it from an energy perspective, it doesn't have any calorie to add. So these are the three levels: no added sugar, no sugar, and no calorie.
Avinash, can you share an example where adapting a product to suit local tastes made a real difference in its success? Something that stood out or taught you something valuable?
It's something very close to my heart because I genuinely believe that businesses and brand owners and entrepreneurs in the region should really try to adapt their products and offerings to the local tastes. There's another big story because what this really helps is first gain the trust and the preference of the local consumer. Potentially, it can be extended into use of local ingredients and local partners so that it generates more for the economy. But to share an example that was done under my purview, actually, Grainvelocity has launched a number of innovative winning products in the market. But one that really stands out for me is not that one Grainvelocity launched, but that where I was supporting a very leading group called the UAE Food and Beverage Manufacturer Group and the Khalifa Fund on an initiative called the F&B Innovation Lab 2.0. And this lab was meant and designed to help local entrepreneurs launch new products in the market. And I was from Grainvelocity, we were the knowledge partner for this particular initiative. So we supported them to think in that way as to how they could come up with such products. Now, there was one brilliant innovator, a local Emirati innovator, who came up with the idea of adding a gaff extract. If you know, gaff tree is a very well-known tree here, and it has medicinal properties and it has, health benefits, and it's added to several products. But she came up with the idea of adding the gaff extract to smoothies, which is a very interesting combination. It had never happened before. This was an example of a local ingredient in a local product. So the group, actually, the UAE F&B group, enabled the partnership with another leading fresh juice manufacturer here, Barakat. And that combination gave a very powerful Barakat gaff smoothie that was launched in the market. I am really proud of the innovator and really respect the group for taking this initiative. And this is an example of a purely local product launched by locals into the market. Splendid example of innovation rooted in local identity. The other example I gave you was Vimto Zero. Yeah, so that's another very good example of.
When you are choosing the product, absolutely that the market research is a bit. What are the other instincts that you use? Is there a intuition that this is going to work or this is not going to work?
This, I think, is actually not only a need, but a big pain point in the food and beverage industry, because a lot of the marketers and brand owners and even the business leaders, they want to make success of the products that they launch in the market, right? There needs to be some way of predicting this success. Of course, market research gives you a lot about what the consumer will think and whether they will buy it or not and what price they are willing to pay and all those commercial factors that are important. But when it comes down to the product, I think there's a lot of role that food science and knowledge and a predictive way of testing these products before even they go into launch, or they even go into the discussion with the consumer. And in fact, Grainvelocity has kind of built an expertise in this area where we are able to do some very early predictive assessment of products based on market preferences. So we have the ability to predict whether a particular taste will be preferred in a particular market or not. And we use that in order to enable it. So, by the way, what I'm saying is very fresh. It's not something that's practiced in the market, but it will really help accelerate and enhance the chance of succeeding with innovation when new products are launched here.
For smaller upcoming beverage brands that may not have larger budgets, okay, what's one practical way they can start innovating and creating real impact in today's market? One, you have already spoken about including a local ingredient with medicinal properties. But from the marketing perspective, how can a smaller brands compete with the bigger brands? Or should they even think of competing or rather being unique? What do you suggest?
The thing is, Mohsinaa, I have this I have huge respect for entrepreneurs and individuals who want to bring new products and brands and new tastes into the market. Now, to answer what you just said, I have a slightly lateral approach for these beverage brands. The first thing that I would definitely say to them that yes, you should not stop from considering launching into the market or bringing new products, but do it in a very measured way. So here are some steps that I'd recommend. Step number one, focus on a wow product. That's really important. Getting something that really gets the consumer excited with your product. Don't come up with mediocre stuff because it's not going to survive. So that's number one. The second thing is really dive hard into developing a very strong brand architecture. There's a lot of clutter out there. If you go to the retail shelf, you see there are so many brands and so many offerings. It's sometimes really hard even to find something that you're looking for. Or if you don't know something, it's really, you can't even know that it's there. So therefore, focus on the brand, creates an outstanding identity, and make sure that it resonates with the Gen Z and the millennials. We are 70% of our total population in this region is below 30 years of age. So it's really important to cater to the Gen Z and millennials when it comes to brand identity. Protect your brand and your recipe through the relevant IP. So I would request them to invest in IP for these. It's not rocket science. It's not very huge investments as well, but protect it so that that becomes your core. But before next steps, what I'd say to these budding entrepreneurs or the brands is to then go out into the market and look for innovative manufacturing partners who are willing to take the risk to take your brand, manufacture them. I think this is an important piece. Don't invest in manufacturing on your own. Refrain from going ahead and putting all these assets that will generate a lot of fixed costs. So take your business model, try to go to these manufacturing partners, and also tie up with these growth-oriented distribution partners who want to actually take your product and land it in the market. This is what I call a symbiotic business ecosystem, where you are focusing on what you are good at, and you let the others who are good at what they do their stuff, but at the same time derive value. Everybody wins in this. And then you also make sure that you are having a variable profit model, you are leveraging brand and product and innovation as your core strengths, and then you delegate everything competently. So scale using this model, scale yourself, and then maybe you really grow so big that you will want to take everything in-house. And that is a choice. So that's my recommendation to...
That's a wise and very, very strategic advice that you have given. So Avinash, please tell me one thing. Where does Grainvelocity come here as a support partner to these brands? What kind of support does Grainvelocity give in this?
Grainvelocity, founded in 2017, actually has been dedicatedly focusing on growth and innovation in the food and beverage and the FMCG sectors in the region. I'm not saying this as a credential, but I'm really proud of the fact that we have, from a sales coverage perspective, we have covered almost $1 billion in sale and implemented about 25 projects with 99% success of project completion. And one of the tenets of Grainvelocity has always been sustainable, profitable growth, as I mentioned to you. So it's always about growth, but also adding profit to the business in a sustainable and reliable way. So with these credentials, what a company seeking growth and a company seeking innovation can do is to work with us and come to us and really set up what we call a market entry strategy. So what we really help companies is, before you think of launching in the market, what are the things that you need to do for your brand, for your product, also for the route to market and so on. So we have helped companies from Saudi actually build a complete market entry strategy for launching into the UAE and vice versa. So we have done that in a successful way to take that. That's the strategic piece of it. The second support area where we can help companies with is actually in the innovation development. Many organizations, the younger organizations, they don't have the kind of big innovation setup. So maybe they don't even know how to approach it. Perhaps they want to do the hire, but they don't have the means to do it. But this is a good time to engage with Grainvelocity because it brings in all the innovation process tools, as well as the knowledge of developing innovation pipelines across food and beverages sector. So we have done this for frozen food, we have done this for beverages, we have done this for dairy, we have done this for juices. So we have the know-how of actually helping companies develop their full pipeline of 5 years happen. And it's not just pipeline, but also concrete projects with the R&D teams that they can make it happen over successive years. So that's the second big support area, which is innovation. The third big area where Grainvelocity can help and really has helped companies is in the area of route to market ecosystems. So, we are not a distributor. We don't actually distribute products, but we have a netters in this market who can help, who we can scan, evaluate, and match prospective brands to make sure that there is a fitment there and then there is an interest and a mutual benefit in them actually launching into the market. So we can do all that early setup that's required to make it happen. So as you can see, there are these three pillars: the strategic entry, innovation, and then the market entry setup support that Grainvelocity.
What does leadership in beyond titles or roles in today's world mean to you?
This is something I'm not only saying, but I abide by as well. I think leaders of today have a very unique and different role over and above what their title they are assigned and what teams they are assigned. I think leaders are responsible for really inspiring exceptional collaboration. They're really inspiring exceptional collaboration. And there is collaboration inside the organization with their teams and with their colleagues and superiors, but also there is collaboration externally as well. In the internal collaboration, what I could definitely say to you is that the role of a leader is more of a mentor and a guide. The authoritarian model of leadership is the thing of the past. It's more of a mentor and a guide to create an environment where the teams really thrive and are inspired by what the company wants to do. But externally, and this is something that I have practiced, is that I think a leader must have the ability to bring together a competent set of partners around the table and engage them in the overall mission and initiative. Why? Because I'll tell you, suppose that as leaders in the region, we are able to bring together local ingredient manufacturers, local manufacturing parties, local distributors, right? And build an ecosystem where you can generate profit not only but for yourself, for them as well. This will really help the local economy. I think this is an important piece. A leader must be able to build these external ecosystems. Finally, and not the last piece, but I think as a leader, we have the responsibility of doing good for the environment. So I always think is that when I am in a particular role, have I left the role better compared with have I reduced wastage, for instance? Have I made products that are better for the environment, for instance? Has my team reduced the use of things that that we normally have as a part of our manufacturing processes? So have I done better for the environment? And this is an important aspect of a leader. There's nobody incentivizes you for it, in fact, but there are it needs to come from within, and it needs to be led within the.
Because you spoke about sustainability, you spoke about the carbon footprint as well. What are the kind of measures that beverage companies are taking, FMCGs are taking nowadays to reduce waste? Has there been a shift?
There has been a phenomenal shift, and I'll tell you, many of the manufacturers themselves have already put in place lots of measures to make sure that their manufacturing operation is zero effluent. Whenever there's a factory and there's always the production of chemicals and this production of some sort of waste or the other, but we are putting targets in place and they're really working to a point where they say that my factory is not going to produce any effluent at all. And this is a very big thing, but there are leading companies who are showing the way here. That's more company by company. It is policy driven, but then once it is done, it creates an example for other organizations. So this is at a local company.
Yes.
But then at the master level, there are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and there are several of these goals, and one of them is about reduction in packaging waste. In fact, there are norms. I'm sure that there is work happening, but there's this thing to say that let us reduce our packaging waste significantly by a certain point in time, but as well as have packaging that is 100% recyclable so that we have no more packaging going into the environment. And many large companies like Pepsi and others have actually taken this on themselves, and it is something that's happening as a result. So successive, consistent, and efforts coming from within, if they continue in the manufacturing industry, I do see hope for this in the years to come.
That's amazing. A lot of knowledge there, a lot of understanding of this industry. Thank you very much for sharing your insights.
I really like speaking with you, Mohsinaa. I think you are, you really bring out the best in your in the person you're interviewing. But most importantly, I think the format that you have created, and this forum to bring together business leaders and industry leaders to talk about things that they have valued in the industry and things that they see forward is quite unique. I do think I really appreciate you for that, and I hope that you will continue this in the future.